Hey superheroes, this is Alexander Bear, and I'd like to welcome you to the Modern Day Superhero Show.
What is your mission? What's your purpose here? Why do I get out of bed every day?
What I really wanted to do was to change the face of medicine one patient at a time.
That moment I connected that dot, that peace would come from sharing my own truth, sharing my own journey. That's when, the shift really happened for me.
The Modern Day Superhero Show.
Welcome everyone to episode number 2 of the Modern Day Superhero Show. Today I sit down with Daniel Nyiri, owner of 4U Fitness, the only personal training studio utilizing electrical muscle stimulation in the United States. We discuss how to get a full body workout that activates 95% of your muscle fibers in 20 minutes, how to eat to build muscle and lose fat, why fasting and eating 2 large meals a day produces better results than eating multiple small meals each day, tips and tricks for finding motivation despite countless obstacles, how Daniel started a successful world-renowned franchise with only $150, and of course, tools for finding purpose in life. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, I'm sitting here with Daniel Nyiri at 4U Fitness in St. Pete, Florida. One of 2 locations currently, one in Tampa, one in St. Pete. It's a wonderful space. Looking around, there's eFit machines, functional fitness, kettlebells, got some monkey bars, a lot of stuff going on here that's really awesome. So yeah, I'm sitting here with Daniel. He just flew in from LA after his interview with the doctors, and I don't know if he's tired or not, but that was a crazy flight. But anyway, how are you doing, Daniel?
You're good. Thank you very much for coming out and doing this interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So the way I know Daniel is I actually used to work for him a couple years ago at the Tampa location, and I was attracted to the electrical muscle stimulation. Of course, on Craigslist, I saw the ad, and I was like, oh man, that's like what I just studied in school. Let me come out and see what this is all about. And really excited, and I started working for him, and the clients that were there, I saw profound changes. Like we can talk about a little bit later, but remember this older gentleman, he could barely squat, and he was having like a lot of troubles just with regular movements, and you put him on eFit for a couple months, and he was doing pretty well. But before we get into all that, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you came to start this 4U Fitness franchise, and how eFit ties into all that?
Yes, definitely. So I'm basically from Hungary, Europe, the capital city, Budapest. And I used to play hockey. And I decided to come to the US to try to make it to the big league, of course. Yeah. Just like, a dream of mine. And I came here to the States, started playing hockey, and I was doing all right. And then I got hurt pretty bad, so with my back. And my doctor said that if I get hit again just like that, then I could get in a wheelchair. Right. So I decided that I need to do something else, or I could try to continue. But one thing, no one wants to take me with an injury, because they will eventually find out I have a really bad injury. Yeah. And then second, if I get hurt again, then it's going to be pretty bad for me. And then that's it. And then I will operate from a wheelchair, which I don't want. Right. So that's when I sat down one night, and I just all night was just thinking to figure out what am I going to do with my life. Yeah. And then I realized that I really wanted to help people, but I didn't know how yet. And then that's when I was thinking about it, how I could get involved more. And then that's when it came to me that the worst thing that's going on right now is the health and fitness industry, basically, because it's so confused, so much clutter, so much crap, is out there, especially in the fitness industry. Every magazine has the solution for you, even though it's one magazine with millions of readers and it's supposed to work for everyone, right. Which I hate. So basically, that's why I wanted to just come up with a solution. And basically come up with an idea that we can actually teach the people how to do everything right and what they need to know before they even start a workout routine. And then the number one thing that they always told me when I told them they need to work out, meaning conventional training, they always said, oh, I don't have time for that. Yeah. So that's when we came up basically with eFit, to come up with the 20-minute workout, because it's only basically 2, maximum of 3 times a week, really depending on the person, if they can do it. So that's why we came up with the electrical muscle stimulation workout for the US and, basically for the market. And then we just had so much inquiries that if we have a franchise, because in Europe it's a huge hit, and in the US no one really heard of it, but all these people keep inquiring if we franchise yet. So that's what really pushed me into, all right, then we need to create a franchise. So basically, we came up with the best hybrid solution that has conventional training and electric muscle stimulation combined together.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. So let's get into eFit, because it's really the major component. And when you think for eFitness, you think this electrical muscle stimulation. So can you explain that? What is this eFit device? And from my understanding, you're the only person in the US that's doing this. And you said, I know it's available in Hungary and other parts of Europe, other parts of Asia. But first, what is eFit, and why is it so special? What's it about?
So it's a full body electric muscle stimulation suit that you wear to exercise.
Yeah.
And the technology itself been around for a long time, especially in the space program. And the Russians also used it, their hockey team, the 1978 hockey team. If you watch their documentary on Netflix, for example, you can actually see them doing electric muscle stimulation and full body movements already, like squats and all that kind of stuff with the machine on. I mean, not our machine, but like pads all over their body, which was kind of crazy. Like looked like a crazy scientist, with all these cables and electro pads.
Yeah.
So basically, in Hungary, they put it into an everyday use. First it was for rehab, and then they put it into use for training and athletes and all that. But then they realized that how big this market is, and how people like it, and how fast the results come from it.
Yeah.
And that's when we opened up, or they basically opened up the market in Europe to everyone and everyday people. And then that's when I, at the very beginning, that's when I met with them to doing my rehab with my back, with eFit.
Yeah.
And that's when we actually decided to come up with this for the US market. And then, so I worked with the actual inventor, and we finished up the FDA to get a 510K clearance, which is the required paperwork to get the machine for the US market, basically. And there are other muscle stimulators now. When we started, there were like three big major players. And then 4 years later, now there's over 20 worldwide, just like us.
Yeah.
And there are so many lawsuits going around because they're stealing from us, they're stealing from the other people and all that kind of stuff, our technology and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, fast forward to now, we brought it to the US and set it up. And what the machine does is actually a 20-minute workout. And the reason why it's 20 minutes, because it's very intense. And as soon as the trainer hits starts on the machine, 95% of your muscle fibers come into work.
Yeah.
And when you do conventional training, only about 60% comes into work after like an hour into the workout, unless you're an athlete, of course, and know how to activate it. But otherwise, it's basically full body electric muscle stimulation. Each individual muscle group is being controlled by the trainer, as you already know that.
Yeah.
And it's really good because it doesn't put any pressure on your joints, and you literally don't lift actual weights. Using tennis balls or 3 to 5 pound weights, and you do full compound movements, and basically if you can lift, let's say, 200 pounds with squats, we can stimulate the same amount of pressure on your muscles without lifting the 200 pounds of weight.
Yeah. So you just use it for say like strength training purposes, maybe if someone wants to do weight loss, but are there other applications that you're currently exploring for, if like it's used, you said in Hungary, for physical therapy? Is that something you see happening in the future with it here?
Yes, so we use it. We can use it almost for anything. Of course, it's just like conventional training that we just have to set up in a way that the client benefit from it.
Yeah.
So we can use it for example, a recovery, not necessarily rehab, actual recovery. For example, if an athlete comes in here after, let's say, run the marathon or whatever they did, their sport, we can put in recovery mode, and then it helps with the lactic acid buildup and helps to recover a little bit faster. So we have some people who actually do that, to come in after their big competition or whatever they did.
Yeah.
And then that's one thing. Second, we do, fat loss, muscle building, strength and conditioning. And then rehab is a huge thing. And in Europe, almost every single sports hospital, has eFit in their hospital to use it for rehabilitation with athletes. Yeah. and so many hospitals are behind it. So for the US, we want to do that as well, but it takes some time because of regulations, FDA, and all that. So we didn't turn in the paperwork yet for rehab, but we were planning on it, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next question I want to ask is, I know you have this electrical muscle stimulation device, and it's wonderful, but just working here, I know there's so many more other components that go into the 4U Fitness franchise. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering if you can touch on each of those components, and if someone were, say, to want to franchise with 4U Fitness one day, like what is it exactly they're getting? Like the nutrition aspect, I know you do mostly barbell training or compound functional movements and all that. Can you discuss that a little bit as well?
Yeah, definitely. So basically what we do at 4U Fitness is, again, the conventional training, electric muscle stimulation, group classes, and basically that's it. But we try to keep it simple because what we want to do is, and as you know, the machine is not that simple, but to the client it's simple.
Right.
To the trainers it's more complex and lots of studying. But anyways, we try to keep it simple to the client. So we actually have a nutritionist on staff that we're going to work with. And the nutritionist is going to meet with each individual client. If let's say someone opens up a franchise, we have the nutritionist on staff. And with our new app that we have, the nutritionist can actually reach out to each individual client each day and check on their eating to make sure they are doing good and they understand what they are supposed to do. Okay. Because we try to teach the clients how important eating is to be able to recover from the workout. Because if they don't eat enough food, then there's no point almost working out, because the only thing they're going to lose is muscle instead of what they want to lose,
right? And
which we don't want. So the first thing that we do is we start with a consultation and we clear out all the clutter, for them, and then we continue educating them throughout the whole workout and their time that they're spending with us. Now with the franchise, we also developed our nutrition plans. So as far as we are working on our own supplement line, and we already have it. We are actually labeling them, and we have to make sure that we get clearance and all that, and all the regulations, of course. Yeah. And then we will have our own whey, casein, pea, and brown rice protein. So vegan, all natural, no artificial flavors. The only thing that we have as far as sweetener is probably stevia, but we have completely plain ones as well. Yeah. That doesn't come with anything. And just the plain protein, and the same thing with BCAAs, and we have some vitamins. However, we mainly recommend that you eat your vitamins, but if you cannot, then obviously you can take it as a supplement, but we recommend eating it. And as far as if anyone is interested in opening a studio, at the moment we are franchising mainly in the state of Florida, and we have 3 different sizes: small, medium, large, and you're in the large one at the moment. Okay. And the 10th one is the medium size, and we're opening up a smaller one. We're planning on channel side, so we'll see how that goes. We're just still waiting it out a little bit because of all the construction and the plans that are going to happen. But and we also have 2 times Miss Olympia, Erin Stern, as our spokesmodel. She also trains with us all the time, and the reason why we picked her, because she also do intermittent fasting, which we also follow here at 4U Fitness, just because it's so much easier to do that than following like a meal plan that when you have to eat 7 meals a day versus you can just eat 2 to 3 large meals a day. Plus you are in control and not the other way around when the diet controls you. And she also only works out 2 to 3 times a week, do full compound movements and uses our machine. So it was a perfect match for us. It made sense to work with her. And basically that's all. Well, I mean a lot more to it, but right now that I can think of.
Yeah. Are you still recommending the like the ketogenic diet or modified Atkins diet to your clients, and with the intermittent fasting?
Yeah. So not necessarily like that, but so on a workout days, yes, they do eat high protein, high carbs though. So not like the Atkins, Yeah. So they still they do eat lots of carbs only on the workout days, and then lower fat. And the rest days they still eat high protein, but then the carbs only come from vegetables, and they eat a lot higher fat on the rest days. Okay. Basically. So yes.
Okay. Why do you recommend that? Because I know you eat like that. Because I used to work with you and see you with big bowls of salad and all that, like pasta and all that kind of stuff. So why do you recommend this kind of a switch between like on workout days you're eating more carbohydrates, but rest days you're eating less, and how did you get the macronutrient ratios for these particular diets?
So just like every person, when they come in here, we do consultation and full body assessment, measurements, and all that. And actually, we have two options in the future that we are working on with one of the research lab here. That they're gonna probably set up a full body scanning and testing for our clients inside of our studios, so we can get like 95% accuracy on their current statistics of their body fat, muscles, water, and all that.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is calculate their macros, and we need all those information: what they do every day, what their life looks like, if they sit all day, if they are active, how many times they work out, what they do for workout, and all that. And once we can calculate their macros, so we know exactly how much protein, carbs, and fat they need to eat. And the reason why we give them more protein on workout, more calories and more macros on the workout days with the carbs, high carbs, because that day they actually able to use it a lot easier because they just worked out, and especially after the workout, if you eat your biggest meal is what we usually require or we would advise on. It's not a problem if you don't, but we just advise on it because more than likely your body can use it up and know how to right away. And then the next day when you don't do anything, for example, just relaxing, that's when I recommend that you don't eat the carbs because you don't need them. And you basically just cycle back and forth. That way you don't get used to it either. And then you overeating on workout days and undereating on rest days to create a perfect balance, and you don't hit actual plateaus. That's why we do that.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad we cleared that up. Appreciate it. If you don't mind, can I ask you, you're a really interesting guy, like even when I first met you, I'm like, well, this is the only dude with this type of technology. And then I got to talking to you, got to know you, and have an incredible story. Do you mind if I ask you about that? Just share a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
So I understand, you said you're from Hungary, and I've read your website and talked to you, and it's over and over said you came with like $500 in your pocket, and somehow we're sitting in this like beautiful studio. You have multiple locations, and I'm sure in time there'll be eFit like everywhere, in the U.S. as it is in other countries. So yeah, just curious, like how you came to just where you find your motivation to continue. Because I was working with you, and you're like, the FDA is, they have this stipulation, and now because I missed this one little thing that they never told me about, I have to wait another 6 months to reapply for this and that. So how did you keep your motivation through all that? And yeah, where does that come from for you?
Yeah, that's the number one thing that I actually like to talk about, and I always talk about it to people. Yeah. And it's also the number one thing that always pisses me off about people, because so many times people unfortunately give up, too early.
Right.
And they tell me that they need to do this and this. Or they can do this, or even when I came here, before I came here, I actually came here with $150, not $500.
Okay.
But it's not it's basically equal the same. Doesn't make any difference. 500 is not more than 150. You can do so much more.
Yeah.
So when so that's the number one thing, the motivation actually, because of and the passion about something. So I read lots of books, and but that's I would say it started when I was a kid, because I came from a family that got divorced early, and then every other weekend I had to spend the weekend with my father. And my father was, for example, told me when I was a kid to not call him dad, to call him his first name.
Yeah.
So he can say that he's my uncle, for example. And then in the parks he could pick up girls with me, saying that his own son is not his son, and I call him uncle.
Wow.
So that's one thing. And then second, he always made me work for anything, that I work for food or whatever.
Yeah.
Did some crazy stuff and dropped me off middle of the forest, that we probably already talked about. Yeah. And he told me that if I don't shoot something, better not come home, because there will be nothing to eat anyways.
And that was with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, bow and arrow, yes, when I was 11 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all that, adds up, because that basically showed me how is actually life, how life works at a young age, that I knew that I have to work for whatever if I need to get something.
Yeah.
And what I also learned, that I saw all these people, for example, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, who were huge motivators for me, because at that time I saw their success, because it happening while I was growing up.
Right.
And I just saw how these people, just came from nowhere and then became successful. And then I was like, if they did it, I can do it too. So that's how I always had my mindset, basically. And then, but my goal was to become a professional hockey player. So I actually started playing hockey when I was 14, and all the people started playing hockey when they were 5. So I was way behind, and the first 2 years, they were basically telling me that I should sell my hockey gear or burn it because I was so bad.
Wow.
Because I didn't know how to skate or anything. And then 2.5, 3 years later, I made it to start playing professional hockey. And I also got brought into for our national team selections and all that kind of stuff. Because I was just very motivated, and I knew and I believed that I can become a professional hockey player. And then all of a sudden, I guess that's how everyone wanted it. It was ended by an injury, which you already know. So then I really realized that, and by the way, while I was playing hockey, I always thought of myself, as soon as I'm able to make money, how I'm going to help people, because now I have the money, I can actually build what I want to do, which is basically helping people. So I always had that mindset, and I think because of my grandparents. My grandparents always told me that I should try to think about everyone else and figure out how I can help them. That's what they always taught me. They were the nice people, and my parents were like the ones who, I'm never proud of you. If you scored 1 goal, you should have scored 3. If you got into this, you should have got into that, and all that kind of stuff. Actually, my mom first told me that she's proud of me about 2 years ago. So before that, I never heard a word from my parents.
Wow.
But anyways, so motivation. Sorry that I got off track.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So the motivation is really, you have to be self-motivated, and I think the number one thing is that you have to figure out what you want to do in life, because until then, you can tell yourself that I'm motivated, but if you don't know what you are after, then how do you expect, to keep going for it when a bad day happens? When you wake up in the morning and you feel like you just don't want to get out of bed, or something bad happened and you just want to stay in and all that kind of stuff. Everyone has that, by the way. But if you don't have an actual motivation of why you should get out or do something, then there is, you could just might as well stay in there, if that makes sense. So in my mindset, it's just like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk had their goal to change the world in their way. I also have it in my mind, and they showed me that it's possible. You just really have to believe in it and do it. Is that I really want that one day when people, for example, right now if I would ask you, hey, after this interview, can you call me tonight at 6 p.m. or whatever? In your mind, what you're picturing is picking out your smartphone and then start dialing and call me. But your parents at your age had a completely different picture in their mindset. If I would have told them at your age that, hey, can you call me tonight at 6? What they have in their mind pictured is a big plastic junk on the wall with a miles of cable, hanging out as a telephone, and your mom doing, limbo around the cables in the kitchen while they're making the call. And basically, that's my ultimate goal, that when people think of exercise, they will think of us as electric muscle stimulation, and not basically a countless hours, in the gym, combined with some crazy cardio type of exercise, and with some crash diet. So we want to clear all that out and show them, how to think different. So that's our ultimate goal. So that's what I have in my mindset, and to try to somehow, which I have a plan for, but it's still in a work in progress, but somehow to get out there more and more and try to teach more people and educate them on the eating part, unfortunately, because exercise is one, but eating is even bigger. And I don't know if you know this, but especially in the US market, our biggest death and debt creator is basically coming from obesity and obesity-related infections and sickness and illness and all that, and it kills most people. Alcohol, cigarettes, and car accidents combined not even get close to what comes from obesity, which is crazy. And that's my number one thing that I don't understand. How come, sugar is, for example, legal for kids, but alcohol isn't? When sugar is even, and drugs, same thing, because sugar is even worse than all those things. But however, I see kids like with sugar packets and then eating all this crap at the cafeteria. It's just really bad. They really set up for failure, in the future, and some health problems. But anyways, motivation. Sorry again. It's so you have to. What I recommend. I already had a goal set in my mind. So the only way, just keep going forward. Because I always thought of, I have to, when something bad, I met with something bad, I always thought of, okay, if I don't do it, what am I going to do? I would have to look for something else to do, which there is no way, because this is what I want to do and I believe it will be successful and I can do this. So when life throws something in your way, you just have to figure it out as soon as possible how to overcome that situation.
Yeah.
So anytime when, for example, FDA sent me back something or sent us back something that we need this and this and this, then it was of course pain in the butt. But I mean, we had to do it in order to continue. And when my mom or parents or anyone that I talk to, or even sometimes Nina, my wife,
right.
now,
yeah.
That they would say that, oh, we'll never get this, or I would hear them on the phone talk to someone else saying, we will never get that and that. Yeah. And don't know what we're gonna do. And I was like, I mean, that never even come into my mind.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You are a separate person, and you have to set your goals and stick to it. And if anyone else says that you cannot do it, I mean, you're not supposed to listen, because if you listen, then you're gonna follow what they did.
Right.
So let's say if this is whoever telling you their job or what they're doing currently, and if they're not that successful or anything, then you might become them, if it makes sense. But if you listen to people who are very successful and just get an advice from them, and they will probably tell you what I'm telling you, the same thing, that you have to go after what you want, and you have to really want it and never give up and keep going, then you will probably become successful and able to get it because they did it. And none of them have or not none of them, but most of them don't even have education as far as college degrees, which I don't have either.
Yeah.
So, and that's because they are self-educated. And, that's the motivation that I recommend, that every day I X out X amount of hours per day to read, just to make sure that I can keep educating, myself, to be able to get ahead of the competition, I guess, and always stay one step ahead of other fitness companies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I don't even think I told you this, but I saw at your desk you had all these journals, like scientific journals of like strength and conditioning and all these things. And most times when you go into a personal training studio, say you go to like Gold's Gym, or not, those places aren't bad or anything, but you're just like, this trainer probably is just here to make some money and to go home and be with his family, or with his wife or whatever. But I was just really impressed by the fact that you had all these strength and conditioning journals, and you're actually like sitting there reading them, and yeah. So thank you for sharing all that. I think it'll be really helpful for everyone listening to.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, thank you again, and I agree because most trainers, unfortunately, as you already know too, that in the US they literally just because it's easy to become a personal trainer,
right.
So they really just get into the quick money. And I even met some trainers who literally, I heard their stories, their stories, not her, and they literally say, I charged this guy and this girl for X amount of money, and then basically I made so much money, and they don't think of the results. So what they do is they just want the money,
yeah.
and then they want nothing in return. So, they show up, they don't plan ahead, and then they just train their clients, and then they disappear or not. They just get a new one, take their money, and then they just want to fill in as much as they can. And then basically that's it. I even met with people who saying, I just took their money, never showed up, or they charge in big bulks for like months, and then they make it really hard to able to schedule. They make them expire if they don't use, and then they make all these rules and contracts, just like big box gyms make all these contracts because they know that they're not going to stick with the training. And that's why at our studio we will never have contracts, and we still don't have contracts and never will, because we know that once they realize that we are doing them what they need to do, so we get the results that they are here for, they will stick to us, and they always renew. So there's no need to get an actual contract to keep them, because they will stay anyways.
Yeah.
And that's what is missing, that people are not educating themselves. What you usually see in those gyms that you're referring to is personal trainers open up their fitness magazines, and that's where they get their routines from, which I hate, because it's some ridiculous. And some of those people literally getting those routines from other personal trainers who just came up with some nonsense workout,
right.
from in their head, do this and this and do that and that, and you will look like me, and which is not true.
Right. What do you say? This question has popped in my mind. Since you came from having very little money, is this type of stuff accessible to people who don't have a lot of money? Like say someone there's a 16-year-old kid, and I'll just say baseball because I play baseball, but he's like, I really want to play baseball. I learned about this EFIT thing. Like I think it'll get me to the next level. Maybe I have a shoulder injury. I think it's going to help that. And they're like really like, that's something I want to do. So What do you say in terms of that?
So right now, at the moment, let's put it this way: we are working on like as a Tesla model. Just like when the first Tesla came out, it was very, very expensive. Like I believe $130,000 for the first model, which wasn't even that good of a model, and they don't even make it anymore.
Right.
And then they came up with an even a really, really nice car that you already see, and that's also an expensive model. And now, because they raised enough capital and have enough money and resources, now they are finally coming out with the cheap cars that everyday people who don't have that much money or they are a little tight, they are able to afford, and it will be more beneficial for them because it's electric and all that kind of stuff. So it's the same model that we're working on at the moment. Right now, since again we came from nothing, meaning $150, no loans and no investors or anything like that. Basically, just from profits, we are growing. The only way we're able to do that is we work with good merchants, and all the money that comes in, we turn it right into the company and keep growing just like Tesla did back in the time, and invest into ourselves in the future. And that's why we're coming up with new also plans for the trainers so they can grow with the company and they become part of the company, and so they can stay with us for a long period of time and they benefit from it. But long story short, at the moment, if someone would come in, unfortunately, we have a plan B for everyone, meaning we have our small group classes, which is still really cheap compared to any other group classes. It's the same price or even cheaper, just for the people who cannot afford to train with us on the machine. However, we always give out free sessions if they, they check in on Facebook, they talk about us, that kind of stuff. And then I always do this, by the way, at the interviews. If someone comes in and I really see it on them that on the consultation that they are really after something and they just really need help and they are really into this and they really want to do this, they just don't have the money for it, for example, then we always we actually interview them and make sure these are the right people that we need to help, because there are always those people who come in and just want to do everything for free and nothing in return.
Right.
So those are the people that we don't want to help either. So we want to make sure that the people who are coming in here and they can afford it, they really truly want to do this, and then we can support them and we can train them for free, for example. So we have these little things that we do to be able to support the people who cannot afford it, and to make sure that they get their dream, just because. But in return, they do this and this because they will get amazing results because they're so into it. So they don't waste our time because they're really 100% into it, And so eventually, our goal is to have we can help all the people who sometimes get into the situation of being overweight or not know anything about exercise or eating right because of not having enough money. So we are trying to help those people as well. But at the moment, we can't afford it to do that. But that's in the big picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I wasn't aware of that. And of course, I worked here, 3 years ago, and that was a question that came to mind a couple times because. I'm in the same boat. I know a little bit. I don't know how much of the story but my dad passed away. Several years ago, and after that, financial stuff was really bad. So I was like, man, I wonder what it would be like for people who just wanted to come in and didn't have, $40 a session or 30, whatever it is now. So anyway, thank you for answering that. I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, of course.
One, so are you still working with clients?
So I have total of 2 people.
Okay.
That I train because they've been here for since I started day one, almost over 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they never cancel. They still come on the same exact date and time that they did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I kept them still, but everyone else I passed down because I have to run the company.
Yeah.
And I travel so much now, so it's hard to do that. And what I realized, by the way, what was really hard for me, because I really liked helping people and train them and giving them the results, and it was so awesome to see them change.
Right.
So it was really hard for me to give them away because I thought then how they're going to do this and this, and that's when I realized I need to focus on growing the company and hiring the right people who can do the same, even better job than I do. And just keep hiring the right people to do that for me. And then I can focus on helping even more people, because think about this, when I finally realized this, by the way, it took me about, I would say, 2 years to realize this. But when I finally realized that I'm only helping a few people while I'm training, however, I try to fit in as much as I can. And I think you noticed that at some points I worked from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. just back to back all day.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized, and the company wasn't growing. I mean, it was, clients coming in from referrals, but we weren't scaling to be a franchise or open up more studios or anything like it because I was so busy, so I couldn't focus on anything else.
Yeah.
So what I realized and was hard is that I had to tell to myself that, hey, I'm only helping, let's say, 40 people with myself, training them.
Right.
And if I train one client, because it was hard to tell them that I'm not going to train you anymore, because you already noticed that, but you create a good connection with clients and become friends and all that.
I still keep in touch with some of the clients
Exactly.
from when I trained with you, actually.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So I still keep in touch with all of my clients, that I train it, and it's pretty awesome. We even meet so many times and get together and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was really hard for me to tell them that listen, it's nothing against you. It's just I really need to I want to scale this bigger, and then it was hard but I basically explained to them that listen, I'm helping you right now, but how do you like that I could literally help 10 times more people just in that 1 hour while I'm with you? But I'm only helping you. So for myself, I had to tell myself that, hey, I'm only helping this one person for a full hour when I could help 10 times more people in that 1 hour if I do what I need to do,
Right.
So that's when I realized that, okay, I really need to step down from training and focus on growing the company and keep growing it, and come up with solutions, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I listen to different podcasts, and a lot of the major people become really successful. They start to realize I can't do everything. I actually read about that in that business article you had posted, like, you're in there painting and like tearing up walls and like doing all this. You're like, oh, hey, I can't do all these things. It's impossible. But yeah, a lot of really successful folks like realize that other people are gonna be better at things than me. So that's really wonderful. Like humbling to hear.
And that's what I recommend also, that I know it's hard, and that was the hardest, I believe, to realize that, because I wanted to do everything. And my biggest weakness was that I always had no patience. And I always told people that, just get out of my way, let me finish it myself.
Right, yeah.
and then what didn't realize that I'm doing like, for example, the painting part of it, or even just fixing something on a computer that took me like 2 hours. But a guy could have fixed it for $20 in like 10 minutes.
Right.
But just because I knew how to fix it, kinda, not the way it was supposed to.
Right.
But I fixed it. I felt like, all right, I did this, and I saved so much money. But you just think because you literally, let's say you make $600 an hour that you could make as running the company, you just lost $1,200 if it took you 2 hours, instead of, and you did a $10 per hour. I mean, a $10 per hour job for $20, and that's what most companies, actually never make it, because their owner literally doing all these little works instead of hiring people. For example, even cleaning. Cleaning is so bad for your soul, let's put it this way. I'm telling you, because you think of it that in your head, you already picture that who you're going to be, and all that. I mean, I still clean lots of times, and especially when, let's say, our cleaning lady cancels. So it's not a big deal. But when you're set for in your mindset that you will be successful and you know what you need to accomplish. And if I really need to do something, I will obviously clean up and all that. But I'm talking about like continuous cleaning, for example. If you have yourself as you are the one cleaning for everything, in your mindset, you're wasting. First of all, you're wasting so much time, and you're cleaning up after what you should have people to do it for you, because. Think about this, if you clean for 4 hours in a studio, and even more because you need to, then within those 4+ hours, how much other stuff you could do. 1, you could relax, or 2, you could educate yourself. And in 4 hours, you can read a whole book, and you will have so much more knowledge against other people who don't do that.
Right.
So you get ahead, basically, with that.
Do you teach that to your clients? Or I know you don't train, that's the first reason I asked, but like just prioritizing your day so that you can have that success. Like say someone comes in and I don't know, they weigh 250 and they want to get down to 185, and like if you follow this diet, you come and exercise on these days, that's what's most important. But like, how do you teach that, like motivation? How do you teach that to someone who just isn't in the same mindset? He doesn't have that strict discipline. Everything. How do you teach discipline and motivation?
Yes, that's the number one thing. So and that's what lots of, I would say, 95% of the studios in the United States or worldwide don't have that, because all they care about, unfortunately, most of our trainers who came to us came from big box gyms, or even some of them from small gyms, and they all said exactly the same thing, that they hated it because the companies are all in for it for the money and not for the results. And what these gyms are missing out, or they just don't care because they just literally all about the margins and money, is that just like every successful people say, when you do something right, money will come and follow.
Right.
So it's true. So when they get into results, the word gets out there, and I got all these interviews for example, the past 2 months been like featured about like 50 times, and it's because they see the results and what we are doing, so people get interested about it.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is, and how we teach them, is we come up with all these PDFs at the moment, and we are working on our book also.
Yeah.
But what also hard is for them to read it. So we have these, So that's one thing. When we have it done, it's one. But second, we have to make them read it. So our trainer's job is to motivate them and try to tell them that you need to do this and this, or you won't do this and this, or you won't look like this and this. And we have to do a full realization and very straight up with them and tell them that, hey, I know what you're doing. And if you keep doing that, you're not going to ever reach what you want. Yeah. And you have to tell them, in order to do this, you have to do that and that. And by the way, this is your step-by-step guide that we already created. And we have different ones for eating, working out, scheduling your time, read this book, read that book for what and what. And we send them in periodically why they are with us. Yeah. So we have a set schedule for the clients that we send out info for them. Yeah. And we show them even how to cook. And if they want to cook at home, we are actually on our YouTube channel now. Every week we post videos and recipes with pictures and full directions, macros and everything. You have to do it on your own at home. Yeah. So they can do it. And these meals look amazing, by the way. Yeah. And if Nina did it, and who basically didn't even know how to do ego, what do we call it? You know, those microwave things. Or how to do that, and now she's cooking these 5-star meals. Then anyone can do it, and that's what she does. She literally writes it down exactly how to do it, step by step, and it's amazing. So we teach the clients, and that's the number one thing. We have to teach them, and just like, but first it starts with the trainers. Yeah. So when you were here, we didn't have this because we were still figuring it out, as it was a very new company. Right. But now we have the staff meetings that go sometimes even for 5 to 6 hours, because we just go over so many things and we come up with solutions for clients to how to get the results that they need, want, and deserve, Yeah. So we actually, the trainers now, they read books, and we go around books also to make them more successful, to teach them things, to be able to teach that to the clients. So we go over the books that we read, we go over what they did, what we learned from it, and then we try to push it through the clients. So, because when you're with a client, you talk. So we try to talk about what makes sense and not something that doesn't make any sense. Right. So we try to educate them to make sure they get successful, and that's the number one thing that we try to do. So one day, once they reach their goal, when they leave, they don't just gain everything back. They're able to teach it to their kids. They're able to maintain it, and they go on, forever healthy.
Wow, that's incredible. That was the mindset I had when I originally worked here, and saying that's why I'm actually doing this is to teach as many people, give people the simple and effective tools they need to get in shape, eat right, and then not only do they understand for themselves, say, oh, I did it, I couldn't cook an Eggo, but now I can cook every meal I eat, and I just saved a bunch of money, and it's really fun. They're just super excited about it, just want to share it naturally with people. So that's and I'm glad I'm here talking to you about this. It's really great. So one last question, well, 2 last questions, but one major question is someone who, say someone is weighs 250 pounds and isn't really sure where to start. They just, they have a goal, maybe they want to lose weight, they get down to say 185 or something in a few months. Where's the most important place for them to begin their journey to being healthy and everything?
Well, in their head, I would say. That's the number one. But they're already making the right choice because they're coming in or they're reaching out for help. Yeah. But when they come in, that's the consultation is, most people think that the consultation is just a waste of time before they actually come through it, because they always think that they know what they're doing. So most of the time, these people who come in and they're over 200 pounds, they don't realize what they're doing wrong. They're thinking that they are eating too much food. Yeah. But what they don't realize is that most of the time they're actually not eating enough food, and they're slowly gaining weight because their body is just tapping into every fat source that they can put on. Yeah. Even if they're just eating salads, because they under eating for so long, because they're eating like birds or they don't eat enough food. Yeah. And every once in a while when they eat too much food, their body just literally tap onto it and store and store and store. Right. Because that's how we designed. Back in a time, we sometimes only eat once a week, for example. So our body was meant to store fat to be able to survive longer, And that's what they don't understand, that they actually need to eat lots of food in order to get rid of the fat. And we teach them that, and they come to realization what's wrong and what's into the food that they're actually eating. So the first thing that we need to know is ask the right questions and find out what they're doing wrong, and then show them, not to tell them that, oh my God, you're stupid, what are you doing? Yeah. We actually have to not to tell them that you're doing it wrong, they actually have to realize it by themselves. So I'll be talking to them, they're doing it wrong, it's like a self-realization, and once they do that, they set their mindset to change that. Because otherwise they won't do that. And then when you tell someone that you're wrong and wrong and wrong, then the worst thing, probably most of the time what happens is, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, or they just ignore you completely.
Yeah.
Because just like when your parents back in the time told you, oh, you can't do that or that, then you did it anyways. So it's the same thing here. We're adults, but they are still doing that. So, it's their self-realization. We have to teach them. And we have lots of people, by the way. It's on our websites too, with pictures and their full life story. And some of them wrote like pages about this whole life changing. And they literally explain that some of them lost 120 pounds, 200 pounds, like with us, And they literally say that it started out like this. They were skeptical, then they learned so much, and they're so happy they did this. Some of them even have six packs now.
Yeah.
And then, and when they first started, for example, they tried so many other things and nothing worked. They tried these MLM companies, that to buy their products, and you take these shakes. You don't need food. You do these shakes with liquids, or you do weight loss clinics and that kind of stuff, and then you lose a crazy amount of weight. All of them said that I lost like 30 pounds in the first month, and then I gained back 40. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I explain them why is that, and then they realize, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then, not to mention, when you lost all that weight, you looked like crap. I mean, no offense, I try to tell them that, but when you looked in the mirror, you didn't like what you see, because you become basically skinny fat. And the reason for that is because you're literally losing lots of muscle, water, and some fat, which will come back. But if you do it right, you eat enough food and exercise, you will look amazing once you drop all this fat and not muscle and water. Of course, some water comes too. But you will look amazing, and you'll be very happy with your results, and it will keep you motivated. So the first thing is, the first couple of months is the hard, because you have to teach them and tell them that, listen, whatever you did, sometimes it's really messing you up, and you can create a metabolic damage, and it might take a couple of months to clear it out, and your body to change, and hormonal changes, and all those through that you go through, and your mind to actually finally realize that you're getting your results. But when you're into the right track and your mind is very strong, if you know it and you see it and you understand it, you will get your results a lot faster, because you have the mindset. And then you will be also motivated. And we're not talking about like crazy diets that, oh my God, I can only eat salads. You can eat anything you want, as long as it fits within your numbers, including the cheesecakes, So as long as it fits into your numbers, for example, the perfect example that I give to people and they understand is this, is that, just like, for example, when they, if you don't know the amount that you're supposed to eat and operate to be healthy, then you're basically guessing. So, for example, if you make $800 a month as an income, but your bills are $1,000, then what you're going to do at home, the first thing, I assume most people would do this, would go home, sit down, and figure out what they can cross off of their bills so they can make the $800, since they're only making $800, So they need to come down from $1,000 to $800. And I think about the same thing, and this is what I tell them. So your body is doing the same thing, but you don't know that. So it's all inside, because there are so many living organisms inside that just try to protect you. And I try to explain to them that you're just a soul, and you're renting this body. And once this body expires, and if you don't keep a right, you don't keep taking care of it the right way, then this body will expire a lot sooner than you think, and you might live when you're 40 with a heart attack or whatever. And so we are just a soul, and we pass on once this is all gone. So that's why I want to teach them, that you're renting this, so you have to take good care of it. And your rental is basically your rental price is the calories, for example, and the macros and what you put into it, and the exercise. So it's a little bit more complex, but let's just go with the macros. So if you have to eat, let's say, 1,000 calories to maintain everything that you have on and be healthy, your brain works fine, you feel full of energy, your muscles, you keep all the muscles and all that, and it's 1,000 calories, it costs that much, but you're only eating 800, then what is going to happen, that you see the scale going down, because first you're going to lose muscle. So once you see losing the scale go down, if your goal is to lose weight, of course, then you will be happy. Like, oh my God, yes, I'm losing weight. But again, when you look into the mirror, you will start looking skinny fat, because you're losing muscle, and it's very, very slowly you're gaining fat, which is lighter than muscle anyways. So because let's say, so you need 1,000 calories, but it costs you 800, then your body literally cutting out whatever it can, and first it cuts out muscle, because every hour, even if you're sleeping, your muscles cost 4 calories per hour, per pound, just to keep it. So it makes sense if you cut it out, because you can live without it as much as we can, so we just come down to 800. So if your body, let's say, cut out 150 and it still needs to cut out 50 somehow, then and it can come from the muscle or whatever, then it will tap into something else, and you will be always tired, you will get sick or whatever. So it's very unhealthy on a long time. So that's why I explain them that you do need X amount of money to live. You do need X amount of money to survive and to be healthy. I mean, not money, sorry, calories and macros. So That's what we teach them. And the number one thing that I like to clear out is also that, which is the nonsense that pisses me off the most, that and Harvard University, Yale, and Stanford proved it so many times, that eating 7 meals a day versus small meals versus eating 2 large meals a day makes no difference whatsoever by the end of the day if it equals the same amount of calories and macros, for example.
Yeah.
So it's, most bodybuilders, unfortunately, and that's the problem, because all these magazines put their pictures in there, with bodybuilding and all that, that you will look like this if you eat 7 meals a day,
right.
and you should eat every 2 to 3 hours, to fill up and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, the first thing when someone told me that, even when I didn't know this, a nutritionist when I used to play hockey would tell me that you need to get up extra early in the morning to be able to fit in these 7 meals. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And then they're like, well, just think of this. You have to do this because the small, your body is just like an engine, like a car. If you don't take good care of it, it will break down. That's what they were telling me. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that I have to eat 7 meals a day to take good care of it. So it's basically keep using up the food and be full of energy, right? Instead of eating the same amount of food with 2 large meals. And they're like, yeah, you have to do that. And I'm like, okay, so since my body is an engine like a car, you're telling me that if I every day when I drive somewhere, I stop 7 times a day to fill up with little gas, then it will be better for my car. And then they're like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like, well, that's what you're telling me. So that's what I didn't get. And then he couldn't really, relate to it anymore.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, then if we put in a big chunk of wood into the fire, then it will burn forever and it will be just there as a big chunk. And I'm like, yeah. And so what's your point? And I was like, well, if you put in little ones, then it will burn and disappear right away. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So what's your point now? And then he goes, well, that's what we do with little meals. And I'm like, okay, but that big chunk of wood that you throw in will burn and disappear as well, right? And then it just takes a lot longer, like let's say 8 hours instead of every 2 to 3 hours, right? That you have to put in new wood. So it's more efficient to, let's say, put in one big chunk of wood and forget about it, rather than putting it in every hour into the fire. So again, the nutritionists proved themselves wrong, because he was trying to tell me that all those food that I eat as a big meal will turn into fat, which is also fake, because Harvard and Stanford and Yale, they all proved it wrong so many times now. Yeah. Anyway, sorry that I got off track again.
No,
but it's just so annoying, these things out there.
No, it's really helpful information. But yeah, we're coming up on time here, so I just want to ask. You said you obviously have 2 studios right now, potentially opening a studio up in Clearwater, franchising in Florida. Sticking here for now though. Website, you said you have a YouTube channel, supplement company. So where can people find you and learn more about? Just if they want to come work out, or if they want to come, or if they just want to learn more about the things you talked about with nutrition, and just get your books, and also for franchising, where can people get in touch?
So everything on our main website, which is the number 4 letter u-fitness.com, so 4ufitness.com. Everything is on there, and we have a blog on it too. And if they can search on the blog, and whatever they need to find out or looking for, they can literally just type in the keywords and it will pop up on the in the blog. But we try to put everything out there, and that's why we're working on a couple of books for recipes, for working out and EMS and all that. We should be available on our website too, because we want to put out there as much as information we can, so we can educate the people. And our social media, actually everything is on there too, on our Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Where do you find? What's your the Instagram name and
it's for you. So the 4U Fitness together LLC.
Okay.
Is the name for the Instagram, and for Facebook it's just 4U Fitness.
Okay.
Facebook.com/4U Fitness.
Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for sitting down here. Wonderful information. That's why I came, because I knew it'd be wonderful.
Thank you.
But yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Modern Day Superhero Show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever else you may be listening to the show. If you've got a second, please leave a quick review on iTunes. If you think someone else you know may benefit from the show, please take a second to share it with them. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at MD Superhero and Facebook at Modern Day Superhero 1. Better yet, you can enter your best email at moderndaysuperhero.com or text keyword superhero to 38470 and I'll send you my free newsletter. On the site, you can download all other podcast episodes I've created along with corresponding transcripts, and you can check out my blog and blog there as well. Did you know that you can directly support the production costs of this show for as little as $1 a month? Not only that, direct sponsors are entitled to awesome additional benefits such as ad-free shows, access to shows before they're released on iTunes, additional content, including blooper reels, and much more. For more information, check out moderndaysuperhero.com/crowdsponsor. Thank you again for listening to the show, and I hope you have a wonderful day.